getting delisted due to Nintendo's wild lawsuit is probably better than getting delisted due to toxic positivity. What a
I
term.
love that toxic positivity.
What a term.
I've heard that term. I've used that term on this show before.
I don't
But
recall.
when I talked about toxic positivity, I was complaining about FF14 pub crawls, where people like, don't tell me how to play my job. I know what I'm doing. You don't pay my sub. There's your toxic positivity.
So, for anybody who has not heard about toxic positivity this week, Concord popped up, and there's a couple steps to this story, but uh, of course we're still trying to dissect what the happened and how did it go so wrong. And so part of that post mortem led to so Colin Moriarty spoke on his podcast and described that he spoke to somebody who worked on Concord and got some verification on some details, and initially reported that internally it was so much more worse than you think, according to the Concord dev, because it was referred to as the future of PlayStation. It was treated as something.
It could be our Star Wars, brother.
It had Star Wars like potential. A dev culture of quote unquote toxic positivity halted any negative feedback, making it cost $400 million.
Now, I am seeing a lot of people, both here and in regards to that, saying that Colin Moriarty is a hack.
Okay.
And make shit up. And that may be true. I don't actually know who Colin Moriarty is.
It's from the Last Stand gaming podcast. I don't really know. I'm just describing where the story went. So step one was this part of it here.
But the idea of Concord costing that much money is so funny to me. Let's explore this further for funsies.
So after that, there was a further elaboration that the initial cost was 200, and then after there was an initial 200 budget, and it was not shaping up. It was in a rough shape at after all these years of development, and then Sony came along when they bought out the team, and then put another 200 in to get it to the finish line. So in total, while games like Spider-Man and God of War and other major AAAs or quadruple A's have had these insanely huge budgets, this one doubled down on its initial budget to get it to the finish line because of the rough shape.
Now, I'm looking at everybody argue about the veracity of the source.
I'm going to get to that part right after this,
which is fun. But the toxic positivity part was apparently corroborated by others.
Yeah. So let me walk through this, if you don't mind. So that was the initial clip. You can go check it up from the podcast describing those bits. And so immediately after that, a number of reporters from Kotaku, GameIndustry.biz, and other journalists publications basically came out and we're saying, yeah, that number seems inaccurate, because the people that I've heard or I've spoke to did not said they gave a number, but it was not 400 million.
That's a lot of cash,
right?
400 million is a lot.
Yeah. For 200 in original development and then 200 in outsourcing after the fact. I, for a fact, just going back to QA days, I know that when a game is on fire, they will take that thing and throw it to third-party outsourcing to just get more eyes on it. And sometimes they'll do it in secret, and sometimes they'll be like ghost money, where they don't want certain people on the certain invest, they don't want people to know the full scope of things. But when something's on fire,
cut all those dudes out of the credits, man.
Right? We hired a private fucking firefighter to come out this fire. So that is something that happens in the industry. But regardless, multiple people or came out after this to say that the 400 million number is not accurate. However, yes, there was corroboration that the toxic positivity line in particular was backed up, and that internally there was overall a there was a glow and a feeling that this game was going to be destined for greatness, and that you couldn't really speak up against it or point out any of the problems, and that people who did were kind of like shunned and or pushed aside, and overall not encouraged to speak up about things like the character designs being fucking whack.
This is the most believable thing ever. I think back to I'm sure, yeah, you watched Plankett's episode 1 review of Star Wars episode 1. There's a bit in that where everyone is like visibly afraid of George Lucas walking around talking. And the only thing people keep saying at each other every time something comes up is going, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's got to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
No, I mean your job is tied to your being a yes man here, and so as something rolls out and they go, this is the direction we're going, someone makes that initial decision, so everyone else is like, yeah, okay, I want to keep working here, let's go, regardless.
I look down and I see somebody go, best season ever.
Right.
Now
the thing is, that was press for the actor talking about that to the public. Internally, if you can't be honest and have real talks about shit, that's fucking that's the worst thing ever. It's poison.
And then you roll all the way around. You run all the way around to me talking to Gene and go, hey, you played Concord, right? Is it like good? Is this sad? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like, this isn't even like a tragedy. Like, oh, it's gone forever and you'll never get to play that. It's like, actually, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine that you didn't play it.
And at no point internally was this ever like pulled back to be it wasn't canceled before release. It was released and then immediately killed, right? The thought is, whatever that number ends up being, if it's not 400 million, because that's like fucking insane by any video game standards and stuff, it's still high enough that the ramifications are very likely to be felt by Sony for a while.
Well, those 12 live service games they were planning,
right? I mean, like, even I don't know if like any of this affects or has any bearing on something like how the Pro drops and what that SKU announcement is, But it does certainly feel that the damage this does is going to last, because that this had enough of a budget for them to go and also get a bunch of CG animations done that we're never going to see, and an entire episode of the secret level thing that's coming as well. So like the marketing cash was fronted aggressively up front, which you don't do to a thing that you're spending light money on,
Hey, I have a question for you, as somebody who's worked on video games for realsies. So there's we got to throw money at this because it's on fire, right? That's very clear. I think everybody can understand that.
Yeah.
Is there also hey, dude, this shit sucks, with the response being, and what the fuck do you expect me to actually do about that? It's too late, or that's too much, or I have no ability to change that? So,
I mean, admittedly, I've been out of the industry for a while, so there's things that I'm sure are different, but for the most part, shit never changes, right? There is definitely people that are like, yeah, we are resigned to our fate, just ship it. And that attitude I've seen on major releases that are sequels to beloved franchises.
That one.
Right? Where there is an energy of like, yeah, you can go back a number of builds and see when this was originally something special, but that's gone now.
Are you ever going to be able to talk about that ever?
Just ship it, right? And just ship it becomes a bit of a mantra amongst people, and to the point where literally we are sending each other emails with just a picture of a boat. just like, okay, how's that bug? Did you fix it? How's it on the new bug? Did you do your regression? Yeah. What's going on? Just JPEG of boat in the email. And you're like, is what it is, man. We got a lot of shit to work on. I got multiple things. My desk is busy. We can only, what do you want me to do here, right? We're beyond that. What makes this, I think, unique is the just ship it mentality never goes hand in hand with we're sorry for taking your money, here's your money back.
I thought they were going to ride this out for a while.
That's the crazy part, which is, yeah, we're sorry. Refunds for everybody. Undo, Control Z, never mind. Back into the bushes we go. You know, that doesn't go hand in hand.
So I was under the assumption, and maybe I was right or maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I need somebody to confirm to me, and I don't know who could. Does Concord's big deal was supposed to be these very well animated like shorts that would happen with the weekly story.
Yep.
Right. And 2 of those or 3 of those came out and I watched them and they are technically immaculate.
Oh, they're really good.
Like,
yeah. Interesting.
They are feature film CD quality immaculate between the most boring characters talking about nothing. It is like astonishing.
So
I
have been curious to see. I'm like, are these is that secret level episode, or would these shorts make those characters seem like better designs in the way they're used? You know, like, is there something about them that'll like convince or sell it in a way that the in-game models did not?
I don't know, because like the CG stuff is like it's A+. It looks great.
Huh.
And they're just talking about nothing. Like it's got no soul to it at all. And I was under the impression that they would have had to build like fucking 50 of those things for launch, right? To, you know, get ahead of it. So because it's supposed to be weekly. But what if they didn't have like 50? What if they had like 8? And so if they decided to keep the game going, they would have to like have the team making those super expensive, super high quality CG cutscenes week after week after week, so that the total weekly cost of keeping the game up was actually really high. But that's okay, because it's going to be doing gangbusters.
And it's not free to play, so everyone's going to be buying it, you know? So that's where the money's directly coming from. You're like, yeah. Who knows, man?
Yeah, you should track down a couple of those Concord shorts, because they are the technical team made them without input from like a writer, is how they feel like. Just
It has been. So we talked about how WoolieVersus came and had a goofy art style that people couldn't get behind, and that was a big hit.
Do you think that's what killed it? Just straight up, just the art style?
It's part of it. It's not just it can't be the entirety of it. I can't. That doesn't make sense.
There would be too much blame to lay at like one person's feet.
But it's a huge part of it, because everyone's like, God, that shit's ugly. It's the first thing you say when you see. You go, why is it so ugly? It's a part of it, man. A big part of it. It's also like the fact that, like you said, it's like, wait, it's out. Wait, it's free. The cost. The I'm gonna say like something like Marvel Rivals dropping and being another thing around the corner, like all these other things, you know, being around the corner. Deadlock ain't even the same genre, but it is still like it's a shooter thing that's happening. And again, like free, like it's a combination of a lot of effects, but in particular the art style being rough, it guarantees that there's no the sticky paper on the backside of that thing has no chance to adhesive. It's not adhesive. Yeah. It's not going to land anywhere. It's sliding off of everybody.
So I love playing WoolieVersus.
Yes, and so this is where I'm like, it's been a minute since there's been a thing where you're like, oh, there was an art style design here in concept, and like they just failed to realize that in game. Because I feel like the last time I saw that large of a failure, one to the other, was like the Castlevania like conversion of Kojima artwork. Right, on the PS2, which it's like, yeah, you made some fine PS2 models, but holy fuck at the source, you know. And then I guess going the other way with the like, we're gonna remove Kojima art entirely and just strip it down to super.
Oh, people in the chat are saying Marvel Infinite's like a good example of this. Like I think like that new mod that like cleans up the shading and makes that game look incredible.
Infinite and Beyond, shoutouts Max.
Is It's like, yeah, you know what? If that game hadn't looked like it was made out of string, people would have been into it.
Yeah, I get, but like, well, the distinction I'm making here is that like there was some concept art at some point that looked like it made sense, and
Yeah.
then it failed in the translation. Infinite, I think, looked ugly through and through. But yeah. Anyway, so that the conversion process failing is a huge part of why this probably fucking bounced off of everybody. But it's not certainly not the only thing. I think as well the 8 years of dev and then the extra money buildup internally creates a pressure cooker situation
It's gonna be great, man.
where they're like, this needs to perform immediately, and then what were the numbers like? How like less than 60 people or whatever? Like it was like absurd lows on launch there that you're like the server cost every day
600 people peak.
yeah. At some point,
like-
you're like, fuck this, right? Just keeping it online is a problem. This makes no sense. So, we're gonna be studying it for a while, but the ramifications will be felt, and I'm sure somewhere else internally, Sony's gonna, have to diffuse that damage.
It's going to be really interesting to see if like a Sony bigwig decides that he's moving on to better things in like 6 months.
Falling on a sword over this? I don't know.
You would fucking hope. You would fucking hope whoever kept giving this thing the green light.
I mean, C-suite immunity, though.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh yeah, the head of Concord's team just quit.
Ah.